Our story begins on the 10th of September 1908 when a ship that had the yard number 394 was built by Harland and Wolff and launched into the River Lagan. This ship was originally ordered by the Dominion Line Shipping Company and was to be called the Alberta. Before she was finished, however, the line was bought over by the White Star Line and the name of the ship was changed to Laurentic. She was launched just months before her equally infamous cousin, the Titanic. The Laurentic was a magnificent ship, some 570 feet long and almost 15,000 tons unladen weight, representing the very latest in shipping technology. Powered with new triple expansion steam engines, her 3 screws could drive the ship through the sea at a speed of 17 knots, faster than any of the German submarines in service during the First World War. The SS Laurentic, as she was called in peacetime, was put on the American run and offered luxury, comfort and reliability to the many thousands of passengers who used her in the run-up to the First World War. Like all luxury liners of the time, the SS Laurentic hosted Masonic gatherings for their Masonic passengers, giving them the opportunity to socialise together. One interesting story associated with the ship was the part it played in the capture of the infamous Dr. Crippen. Having previously murdered his wife, he fled to Belgium with his mistress, with a view to then leaving for Canada. He had already set sail for the New World by the time the police discovered the grisly remains in his cellar. He removed his glasses and shaved off his moustache, and disguised his girlfriend as a boy to evade capture. But the ship he chose for his journey, the SS Montrose, was old and not overly fast. Crippen's change of appearance aroused the suspicion of the captain of the Montrose, Captain Kendall, and he famously sent a message on the newly invented Marconi radio back to Britain.
I noticed that was a mark on the bridge of his nose for wearing spectacles, that he had recently shaved off the moustache, and that he was growing a beard. I returned to my cabin and, taking out a London newspaper, studied the descriptions and photographs issued by Scotland Yard of Crippen, a man with spectacles and a moustache, and his typist. I immediately examined the passenger list and ascertained that the 2 passengers were travelling as Mr. Robinson and Son. At night he went on deck and roamed about on his own. Once the wind blew off his coat tail, and in his hip pocket I saw a revolver. On the 3rd day out, I gave my wireless operator a message to Liverpool.
130 miles west of Lizard. There's strong suspicion Crippen and friend among saloon passengers. Friend dressed as boy, voice, manner and build, undoubtedly a girl.
I remember Mr. Robinson sitting in the deck chair, looking up at the wireless aerials and listening to the crackling of our crude spark transmitter, and remarking to me what a wonderful invention it was.
Scotland Yard's Inspector Dew needed the fastest ship available to give chase, hoping to arrive in Canada before Crippen, and he chose the Laurentic. Although the Montrose was 3 days out of port at the time, the Laurentic arrived in the St. Lawrence Seaway just ahead of the Montrose. Inspector Dew disguised himself as a river pilot, and after boarding, Dr. Crippen was arrested and brought back to England for trial and subsequent execution. Both Inspector Dew and Captain Kendall were Freemasons. On the outbreak of the First World War, the steamship Laurentic was commissioned by the Admiralty to become His Majesty's ship Laurentic and fulfilled the role of transporter. At the end of 1914, she was equipped with a 6-inch deck guns and recommissioned as an armed merchant cruiser. She served the Indian Ocean and was recalled at the end of 1916 for her last fateful voyage to transport some 43 tons of gold bullion in 3,211 bars from Liverpool to Halifax, Nova Scotia, to pay for much-needed war munitions. The Laurentic left Liverpool on the 23rd of January 1917 with Captain R.A. Norton at the helm, and he received radio instructions to call at HMS Hecla, the military name for the naval base of Buncrana in Lough Swilly, to discharge 5 ill seamen. HMS Laurentic arrived in Lough Swilly on the 25th of January 1917, and the ship's officers took the opportunity to go ashore and have a meal in the Lough Swilly Hotel, Buncrana. Everyone was back on board by 5 p.m, and the ship finally left its berth and headed out into the North Atlantic. It was a bitterly cold night, and the snow and hail lashed the ship under a gale-force 12 wind. As the Laurentic passed Fanet Head, approximately 2 miles offshore, she struck a mine, one of the 6 laid earlier in the month by German U-boat U-80. She then hit a second mine and began to list quite markedly. The second mine had destroyed the engine room and generators, disabling the ship and killing most of the engineering officers and engine room ratings. Because of this, the ship's pumps could not be deployed, and with the generators out, the ship was in total darkness. The radio, also which relied on electricity, could not be used, so no distress signal could be sent. Knowing that without the pumps sinking was inevitable, and alone in the dark without hope of assistance, the commanding officer, Captain Reginald Norton, ordered the lifeboats out and got as many of the survivors into them as possible. Not an easy task in total darkness and with gale-force winds. Norton, together with the ship's chief steward, Mr. Charles Porter, then descended to the vessel's swamped lower decks to close whatever watertight doors they could reach to slow the sinking, and to check that no man still alive was left on board. Having done this final courageous act, both officers returned to the main deck and entered the last lifeboat. Less than an hour later, the Laurentic finally gave herself up and slipped beneath the icy waves. The lifeboats had got safely away from the ship, but the men inside them were far from safe. Many of them had been badly injured, and they were now exposed to the extremes of low temperatures and wind chill. When the lifeboats were picked up the following day, many of the occupants were found dead from exposure. In some cases, the ratings had died at their oars, frozen stiff by the terrible conditions. A number of the deceased sailors were brought to the basement of the Lough Swilly Hotel, which was converted into an emergency morgue for the occasion. Of the 470 officers and ratings on board, some 350 lost their lives. Corpses were washed ashore for many weeks after the sinking. Though not in the same league as the loss of life, the loss of the gold, worth £5 million, was a sore blow to the war effort. Salvage attempts started immediately, and within a few years all but 25 bars were recovered. The main burial of some 71 bodies took place in St. Maur's Church of Ireland graveyard in Upper Fawn. The service was poignant given Ireland's history, with participation of Church of Ireland, Presbyterian and Roman Catholic clergy in the one service on the 31st of January 1917. The next day, a further 2 bodies were buried in Cockhill Catholic Cemetery on the outskirts of Buncrana. A memorial Celtic cross was erected at St. Maur's, and a memorial plaque was erected at Cockhill. Other memorials to the dead can be found elsewhere. The largest list of names, some 200, is to be found in the Plymouth Naval Memorial in Devon. In the Newfoundland Memorial at the Somme at Beaumont Hamel are listed some 18 names of Newfoundland Royal Naval Reserves, all lost on the Laurentic. 35 names are recorded in the Chatham Naval Memorial in the town of Chatham in Kent. Of the single memorials is that of Corporal William Worsfold in St. Peter's Churchyard, Chorley, Lancashire. Sergeant W. Hagan is buried in Liverpool City Cemetery. Close to home, the grave of seaman John Kenny is located in Arklow Town Cemetery in County Wicklow. Engineer Lieutenant Mitchell is buried in Hollywood Cemetery, County Down. One of the saddest memorials demonstrates the vagaries of death at sea and is the story of Lieutenant McNeil, whose remains floated for 150 miles before being washed ashore on the tiny island of Cunnair in the Outer Hebrides. He was buried in the nearby island of Hesker. A cairn marks the grave that simply says, Lieutenant RNR McNeill, who drowned off Fanet Head, Donegal, on the 25th of January 1917, when his ship HMS Laurentic struck a mine. By coincidence, the island where his body was washed up is part of the lands of Clan McNeill, his own family name. Hebridean sailors believed that when they drown, the sea will always carry their body home, and maybe that last lonely voyage home of Lieutenant McNeill bears out their belief. Lieutenant McNeill was only one of the many who lost their lives on the HMS Laurentic that icy January night off the coast of Donegal, and the loss of the Laurentic was only one of many Allied ships that were sunk around the coast of Ireland during the Great War of 1914 to 1918.